Which celebrity looks like they smell bad? I always thought Larry King seems like he had the worst breath imaginable. Mickey Rourke. There are actually stories about him being on set and smelling like ass and earring backs. Ass and earring backs. When I met him he just reeked of alcohol. Like he bathed in whiskey. He probably did at one point. Met him while I was working at a Walmart. Can confirm he had an odor to him. Was still very nice to me though. My dad worked on a cruise line where Steve-O worked as a clown before Jackass. My dad said he wouldn't do normal clown things. His big act was throwing himself off a 2-story balcony into a stack of chairs. Steve-O is a fascinating individual. I assume it must be difficult to be fired or blacklisted from being a clown, but he's managed to do it a lot, and is arguably the most successful clown in history with a ridiculous skill set that includes juggling and stilt walking, and yet he chooses to focus more on things like stapling his scrotum to his leg and drinking horse semen. What's even more ridiculous is that he speaks multiple languages, and his dad was one of the CEOs of fucking Pepsi-Cola. Apparently his father was absolutely mortified and horribly disappointed that Steve got kicked out of university after a year and joined the circus. And even the circus hated him. Some people say reading the Red Hot Chili Peppers memoir is one of the best reads ever, but I think Steve-O is a huge contender. What an absolute fucking moron who should have been dead a long time ago. I really like him though. Steve-O is by far the most intriguing person I ever heard of. I mean, he was an absolute dogshit person, and he fully admits to that. The shit he's done and the commitment and resourcefulness required to pull through is mind-bending. Big section in Steve-O's autobiography about this, definitely not your typical clown. When I was a teenager, I bumped into Bam Margera at the KOP Mall, just minutes after buying a Jackass the movie DVD. Such a crazy coincidence. When I showed him, he yelled, "No way, this is available for purchase already." He was super nice and signed it for me. That being said, he definitely smelled of booze. No neck Ed. Probably smells like mayonnaise. I live in the same city as him and have run into him in public before. Once he was alone and the other time he had his newish fiancée, Liz, with him. He is somehow greasier in person than on TV, and does in fact have a weird odor. Like body odor, generic body odor. He's also a complete ass to staff, and act like a spoiled child when he doesn't get what he wants. Once I saw him throw a fit that they didn't have his size shoes in stock, then the poor girl asked him if he would be interested in trying kid-size shoes on. He lost his shit. What a jerk. Reality TV has produced some mobster douchebags. Neck, smegma. I have never hated a person over a 2-word sentence as much as, "I hate you right now." I've been in the same room with Cara Delevingne. BO and cigarettes. Not surprising given the way she chain smokes. It's hard to find a candid picture of her where she isn't smoking. She smokes so she doesn't have to smell herself. Ron Jeremy. Even before he was charged with rape and sexual assault, he looked like he reeked of cigarettes, booze, and lube. Now he looks like he reeks of hospital smell, old people smell, and crazy, and probably still lube. I never knew he got charged with those things till just now, but at the same time it's the most unsurprised I've been by anything ever. Russell Brand looks like he stinks, but I can vouch the man smells incredible. Russell Brand looks like the human equivalent of a $500 pre-stained plain white t-shirt. At the surface he looks like he stinks, but once you take a second look you realize everything is perfectly out of place. Yeah, if you watch the DVD of his one-man show you see them dressing him before he goes out on stage. Like he just stands there and they put the clothes on him that way and arrange them just so. This is who I was gonna say but couldn't think of his name. Googled British actor that looks like Neanderthal Jesus, but nothing came up. Harvey Weinstein, but he actually smells really bad according to reports. Like rotten flesh, poopish. I didn't think there was a way to take everything I've found out about Harvey Weinstein, most of which, true to his brand, is against my will, and make it even worse. So thanks for that. I'm going to go vomit now. He has Fournier's gangrene, basically his taint is rotting, so I wouldn't be surprised. Fournier's gangrene. My stepdad died of that. And yes, he stank to high heaven in his last few months. Wasn't his fault, and he was very hygienic. But when your colon is rotting you just stink. Really awful way to go. His last few weeks were spent in a medically induced coma, and they had to amputate pretty much everything below the waist. When we'd go to visit him in the hospital, you could smell him well outside his room. He was such a good dude, too. Really didn't deserve to go out like that. Sorry for that horrific experience. I really appreciate all you nice folks chiming in here. It means a lot to me. I hope each and every one of you are doing alright. If you ever need someone to talk with about anything bogging you down, then know that I'm here. I'm sorry your stepdad had to go through that. Hope you're doing okay. Hey Siri, take me back to 2 minutes ago, when I didn't know Harvey Weinstein had a rotting taint. One of Weinstein's attorneys, Alan Jackson, asked Jane Doe number 1 how Weinstein's balls were in your mouth, if he does not have testicles. The reason that you changed your story is because you realized at some point that Mr. Weinstein does not have testicles in his scrotum. What a day to be literate. I thought maybe I'd look at some cat pictures for a minute, read a little celebrity gossip. Wasn't counting on deliberating the legal ramifications of whether you do in fact have someone's balls in your mouth if their testicles are actually located in their inner thighs. Truth, stranger than fiction, since the Big Bang. Not only were those women sexually assaulted, and some raped, but they had to endure his nasty smell and thigh balls? His balls are in his thigh because gangrene took his sack. I feel really bad for the gangrene that was diagnosed with Harvey Weinstein, sad face. I didn't need to know any of the above facts. Time to smoke weed until I forget. Kid Rock. He looks like he smells like he just smoked McDonald's. Kid Rock. There's a mean tweets clip from Jimmy Kimmel, where someone tweeted that Kid looks like he smells like stale farts and cigarettes, and Kid quips that it's more like fresh farts and cigars. Jared Leto looks like he uses his own sweat as cologne. He just tells his cult to wash his balls for him. I would not be the least bit surprised if he doesn't even let his cultists touch him because only Jared Leto knows how to touch Jared Leto. That motherfucker probably jerks off while staring at himself in the mirror. I worked with Jared Leto on a film set greater than 10 years ago. I can tell you, he smells fine, but he was a horrible human being. He treated his personal assistant, for the film, like shit, was a entitled queen overall, got a security guy fired, because that guy laughed as Leto tripped out of his trailer, while being drunk. He tried to pick up girls by saying, "Do you know who I am?" Jared Leto, so they would be impressed, young girls of course. It was before it was public what a piece of shit he was. Overall, everyone tried to stay away from him as much as possible. I was actually a fan before the shoot. I loved him in Requiem for a Dream. There are a few Reddit threads from years and years ago before he was exposed about this same exact stuff. There are also groupies on there talking about all the STDs he willingly passes around and stuff. Totally crazy. He's definitely always seemed like the worst fucking person. I also loved him in Requiem though, he also was good in Girl, Interrupted. Not so much of a celebrity, but Shane Dawson. I just know he smells like stale Cheetos. She stinks, for sure. Met him a couple times in a diner when he was doing some hitchhiking thing for method acting study or a documentary, can't remember which. He was friendly enough. Had a lot of questions about things he saw on the local news. But holy fuck, he smelled weird as hell. The best I can describe is B.O., ditchweed, masked with Axe body spray the first time. The second time, the B.O. was still there, but he smelled very specifically like a root fungus. He looks like he may have reached a level of dirty, where he's so coated in dirt and grime, the odor can't actually project anymore. Just smells like the earth. Brad Pitt is known for not showering often. Yeah, this was an issue when Tom Cruise worked with Pitt on Interview with the Vampire. I wonder what Tom Cruise smells like. So I googled it. Let me tell you, if you Google what does Tom Cruise smell like, you will get some weird results. Anyway, according to Miles Teller, he smells delightful. I expect Tom Cruise to smell nice. With his kind of personality and how he is talked about in a work setting, I expect he takes an effort in not being smelly while working. For all the criticism Cruise gets, I have not heard anyone say anything negative about working with him. There are two stories I know. Emily Blunt talked about working with Cruise. The movie Edge of Tomorrow was very grueling. Before one of the takes, Emily said that Cruise's insatiable positive energy was starting to break. Emily said to Cruise, "This really sucks." Cruise answered back, "It is a challenge." Kevin Pollak talks about working with Cruise, who gave all the cast of A Few Good Men a really nice pen. Pollak stated he did not want to use it as it was a gift from Cruise. The next day Cruise noticed Pollak using a regular Bic pen, and asked where was the pen he gave him. Pollak told him it was too nice, and he did not want to use it as it was a gift from Cruise. Pollak stated the next day Cruise's assistant gave him another pen, and said, "Mr. Cruise would like you to use this pen." I've heard two different stories from people working on a Tom Cruise movie from people in background roles. One on Reddit and one a friend of mine. Both said he was hugely positive and energetic, and my friend said he took time to go speak to a load of people in stuff like lighting or set design, ask them about how things were going, why they were doing what they do, etc. He seems like a complete nutter in general, but that he absolutely loves making movies and really wants to help out wherever he can. Rob Lowe used Tom Cruise as a template for much of Chris Traeger's personality on Parks and Rec, particularly his unwavering positivity, and also the way he orders at a restaurant. I can honestly relate. I gave my mom some nice candles she had looked at and didn't want to pay for. She loved them but wouldn't use them because they were expensive. So then I bought more, hoping she might use them if she had backups. She still didn't use them. Then I bought more, and it's been like 10 years and not one has been used. She just uses the cheap ones and picks up the nice ones to smell them sometimes. For what it's worth, I was an extra on a movie, and stood next to Brad Pitt for a few seconds, and the man smelled incredible to the point that it's still what I remember the most clearly years later. He was clearly wearing some expensive cologne or perfume, and he wore it perfectly, enough for you to notice, if you stand close to him, but not overpowering at all. The Island Boys. Especially after that video about one of the dudes' skincare routine, that involved sweating in the sun and having that sweat dry, and marinate back into the skin before washing it off. The Island Boys. What the hell did I just Google? They do not look like healthy people. He actually does stink from what people say, and him also. I'm pretty sure he stated he doesn't use deodorant since the caveman didn't and just goes full BO and musk. Azealia Banks said she smelt like a roll of nickels. That insult stuck with Grimes because she responded a whole 2 years later asking if it was really that bad if she did smell like a roll of nickels. Pete Davidson. He smells like cigarettes and stale pizza. I've met him several times and been in his hotel rooms. I can say he is a very nice fellow. But he chain smokes like crazy. Trippie Redd looks like he smells like dollar store weed and like a little boy's version of Drakkar Noir. Ig. He looks like he's 9 years old, but also like he's just stuck an unmoving finger in someone and asked if it feels good. Marilyn Manson. He stuffs his old bloated body into the fake leather pants that almost immediately start sticking to him from perspiration. That calls for 3 extra spritz between the legs, he exclaims as he douses himself with half a bottle of Nightmare Before Christmas Bone Daddy cologne, exclusively from Hot Topic.